What's happening, people? Welcome to yet another episode of An Idiot's Guide to Happiness with me, your host, a happy idiot. I'm back once again with Mr. John Inch, who was who had previously explained to us a little bit of school life. I started off asking him if he was happy at this moment in time, and I believe the answer was certainly not a full yes. So we decided to go digging in the archives of the history of Mr. John Inch, and when we finished off was school life. A crazy incident happened where he was attacked and stuff, and then that sort of changed his outlook and his perspective a little bit, and he started to live a bit more fearlessly, perhaps. Started to perhaps take more risks in life, and as a result of that, he found that he went through quite a happy period after that mad incident. So we're going to pick up from that point now, and I'm going to ask John. Okay, so you said about a year after that incident took place. This was, I think, the summer of after completing our GCSEs. Incident took place, and then you sort of found a new leash on life. And that year, you sort of, found that this new way of approaching life led to increased happiness. So how long did that continue for after that point? Did you continue in that trajectory, or was there, a dip that took place after that?
Hmm.
How would you frame it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think why did I enjoy that period so much? I think it was a combination of things. Obviously, I talked about just finding my place more in social groups, more confidence and stuff like that. But I think also you start growing into your body more. You start moving into adulthood. So I'm sure it's a period where a lot of people change and possibly start to enjoy life a bit more. And also, you go from this sort of vigorous education system to, well, in that year I'm talking about, I didn't do any work. I did nothing. I don't know about you, mate.
Was that your first year of A levels?
Yeah, nothing. Not a thing.
Indeed.
I'd got a diagnosis of an illness,
Okay,
but that
yep.
did not rock me at all in terms of how I felt. But it certainly meant I can't study, miss. Little did I know that illness would take hold at some point. But yeah, there was just nothing. Do you remember they gave us a lot of free periods and study? This was all like novelty and new, and it just allowed time for other things to form, which was great. So
what we would call catch and joke back
catch
in
and
the day.
joke. We got into music. The garage music
Garage
scene
scene
had
was
come up.
absolutely flourishing or starting to kind of boom at that point in time, definitely.
And
We
so, yeah,
started
life was
to
great.
practice our MCing skills, and
Yeah.
we even had a radio. We had a bit of a pirate underground radio experience. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. Not sure we ever got on the radio.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to tune into us in real life. But
everyone was doing such a variety of things, so it was really good. There's like performing arts people. It was always clear I was going to do something in art, or that was a likely option for me. But funnily enough, in that period, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I had no interest in it, and I was doing the bare minimum to stay on the course. So my teacher, who assumed this is definitely an area where he would excel, was pretty close to kicking me off the course. I just didn't care at all. I was rather like join the guys doing their science 100-meter tests and at Battersea Park. Oh, let's find out if I can run 100 meters fast and stuff like that. So there was just a lot of things going on, and it was fun. But at the end of that year, it suddenly all changed a bit, and it kind of had to change. Like that, at the end of the day, there is studying to be done, and you're supposed to be getting ready to go to uni if you're doing A levels, and I'd done nothing. So
going into the following summer, then after the incident had taken place, you've had a full academic year. You're sort of you've come out of your shell a lot more. You're feeling much more confident, like you said, and much more like I'm ready to take on certain aspects of life that I wasn't necessarily ready to take on previously. So how did that following summer How was that? Like, how was that? Did you kind of recognize that? Wow, it's been a whole year since that madness took place, where I was attacked and stabbed and stuff like that, and like, how did you reflect, or was that even the furthest thing from your mind? You were just kind of all into this new John that had appeared, kind of thing.
It wasn't quite the first thing from my mind because trouble was brewing up again. It seems to happen a lot with young people in summer. I can't quite remember the details, but there was incidents were going on again, and I was very aware that this social group we'd formed was now splitting off into different routes. Needless to say, though, I still enjoyed the summer, but I was bored. I preferred being at school. I preferred being locked into a routine that meant I saw my friends every day because I didn't have a plan. And it was just a lot of time off, not really knowing what to do. But I believe I started working then. But I was very aware that coming into the next year, that the study would have to take precedent. So it was like a huge come down in many ways, but a necessary one. So I went back to being on my own a lot more. In fact, for the first time, being on my own now, but that wasn't such a bad thing because you kind of knew you had to study. But it was funny how dramatically different the vibe was. So yeah.
What was the next period of happiness that you felt in your life? Like, what happened where you felt like, oh, I'm happy again, kind of thing?
It's a funny question because although I can say with a lot of confidence about that 1 year where I just knew I was happy and things had changed so much, I don't really feel a sense of that again for years and years. It's almost like I want to recreate it and never can. That being said, looking back, there's loads of happy times, but in those moments I didn't see it like that, and so much happened, but I would definitely not have said it was a happy time in terms of how I felt living in the moment. So this is sort of carrying me through now, get the A-levels done, just about dig through them in the end. And then I'm at a strange place where I didn't work hard at all until right before the exams. That's always been my tactic. Unfortunately, when you do A-levels, you're supposed to get into uni before.
Right.
So I was trying to get in with quite a bad attitude. The idea was to do art, but my interest in art was at an all-time low.
Okay.
I really had no interest in it. I just had lived off.
It was just more of a natural talent kind of thing.
That's what I'd been told, but I knew it had been dwindling, to be honest. But I was kind of like, well, I don't really know what else to do. Maybe it will pick up again, and I certainly wasn't ready to do one of the other subjects. And this is interesting because when you don't have a clear goal, things don't really go according to plan, if at all. So what happened I think art is still done like this, where you don't go straight into uni, you go into foundation.
It depends. You can get straight on a degree nowadays, but yeah, go on.
So
you did a foundation.
Did a foundation for a year. Now that was funny because a lot of my friends went to one college, and the idea was that John definitely will get in there because he had to pass the interview. I was the only person that failed out of everyone who went in, which shocked the art department. It didn't really shock me because when I think about that interview, I just realised just how terrible it was. It was literally my first interview in life, and I was asking things like, what time do you start in the morning? Because, it's quite a long way for me. 5 stops on the bus, 10 stops on the bus. And I've got an illness, so I need to know that. To which I didn't see was a problem at the time. I just wanted to know. But looking back, it might not have helped as they quickly flicked through.
Well, however, that's how times have changed, because now that is, if you ask that kind of question in an interview, yes, absolutely. What illness have you got? Oh, here's what we can put in place, and
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
We are of that generation where it was kind of like, what? Like,
yeah.
Are you trying to find an excuse already for why you're going to be late? That was kind of how it would have been deemed, asking a question like that. So I can see why the interview didn't necessarily go how you would have liked initially. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, one of my friends had gone to another college, London College of printing. It was called then.
Okay.
And I was like, he got into both, but he's gone with this one. I was like, that's interesting. He's not followed the crowd. And I quickly managed to hurry myself into an interview for that one.
Okay.
And suddenly I took it far more seriously, and I did get in. But there was always a sense that I'd taken the second choice. But life's funny because me and him enjoyed that course, and the rest who'd gone to the other just didn't sound like my type of place in the end. So that was interesting. But at the end of that, so I have a lot of fun on that course. That's like life opens up even more. That's when I get my sort of just into true going out culture, messing around. It's just it's a return to that way of life with a new bunch of people, and now a weird mixed bunch of people because now I'm 18. But some of my friends are 25, 30, 40, 17. Don't know what they were doing there. And it was good. And now there's a lot of foreign students coming in. So the world is opening up to you. And that was very interesting. Again, that suddenly tailored off towards the end of the year. So these like bursts, I think everyone must find this in life. These bursts of fun are quite short before you suddenly have to let go of everyone again. A lot of people dropped off that course. That course was hilarious. Like, there was just trouble. There was no work getting done. Like, I remember we all turned up drunk to one of the sessions, and the tutor was just like, "This is brilliant. The drunk energy is fueling my classroom." And then we were like, "Sir, can we go to a march about student fees because we're angry?" He's like, "Yes, if you feel you must go, go." So that's another day off. We were the only people on that march to cause trouble. And get the police to get their batons out. It was a peaceful march. We tried to turn it into a riot. But this is just daily life.
Just daily nonsense.
Just fun. No work was getting done. I remember one guy sat next to me. He was an MC. Used to do drum and bass MCing. Always out every night. Came in. Never did any work. But the teacher would be like, I'm not going to say his name, but Mr. P, you never do any work. And he's like, "Miss, I've had an epiphany. I'm going to sit here and be one of those people who doesn't do anything. And that's my thing. Because I don't think most people can pull that off, but I think I can do it." I was sitting there going, "You can do loads with your life, you idiot." But great statement. And they just couldn't help but smile and just let him and just leave him to it. But, I mean, what good is that going to do you in the long run? I'm sure he changed.
Yeah, well, there's a good chance. There's a good chance of that.
So at this point, I've got to start working as well. This is it now because money's getting spent. So I do this course at the same time as my first like long-term job, which I do in the evenings after study. Usually I go in drunk, or I was smoking then as well. So that was all interesting. Is that called growing up? I guess it is.
Well, I mean, you're not still doing those things right now, or at least not all of them.
Yeah, I just mean the balancing of study and earning money.
Partying and earning money and doing it all at the same time. Yeah, so so you say you started working.
Yeah, but this leads to a strange time because after this course, I don't go on to uni. This is when I become lost again for the first time. I sort of drop out of the system.
Okay.
I just don't bother to apply to uni, even though that's what I was supposed to do. And I get this narrative in my head where I can't afford to go. Now I could have like done it. You yourself did it on the cheap. But it was I started to get into my head for the first time was I don't want to be totally broke when I do something.
Right.
I want a bit of money behind me just to make it a bit easier. Yeah. But it was also me saying I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what I'm going to go into. I did badly on that course. You only get a pass or a fail, but I could tell my standard was very low.
Right.
And I had no interest in it, which is like graphic design.
Okay.
So what deep down, I'd had this interest in animation that I hadn't done since childhood. And it was kind of that I told myself, if I go to uni, I'm going to do that, which was supposed to be a high-risk subject back then.
Okay.
Hardly any unis were doing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
People were like, you might want to do something else. But I decided that's what I was going to do. But I didn't go straight into it. I instead did a full year of work.
Okay.
which was interesting because then I very nearly did drop out of education completely.
Because you were earning money.
Earning money, and as it went on, and I did enjoy that job. That had a lot of entertainment in itself. That first job, hilarious.
We might
The
get
shop's
into that
not
at
there
some
anymore.
point. We might get into that at some point in the future.
Anyone know any toy shops that don't exist anymore? But I do remember like knowing deep down, ooh, I could go down a different path here, which probably won't suit me in the long run. Because I was getting a lot of, why don't you knuckle down and you can be a supervisor, you can earn more money. And it's funny how once you're out of the system.
When you say system, you just mean education.
Education,
system.
yeah. But by education, I mean the idea that a teacher goes, after you've done this, you're going to move on to do. You've got good grades, so you can do A levels. You've got good A levels, so you can do a degree. But because I'd started to like destabilize that with my patterns, that there was no longer anyone telling me to do anything.
Right.
So I was just. I'm earning money now. I'll just carry on earning money. Missed the deadline. Wasn't interested in filling out that long form. And before I knew it, another year was about to pass. And I only just got in an application for the following year to go to uni. Otherwise, I don't think I would have done it.
Okay.
So that leads to that chapter.
What chapter? The following year chapter?
Of university.
Okay. And so what was that experience like? Did you have a happy time at uni? Or was it just pure dramas or?
Hilarious.
Hilarious. Okay, this sounds interesting.
This is a lot of growth is done in that period.
Okay.
I went to uni thinking, not I'm the man, but like that job I did was full of characters. Indeed. And it was full of hustlers and scandal and difficult management.
Sounds like politics.
Yeah. Far from it.
Yeah, but you know.
Just a different type of life, like, i.e. things like stopping people robbing TVs, checking prams for
stolen
theft.
Items. Yeah.
Like, John, you need to go to...
Just to clarify, by the way, this is Toys R Us.
Okay, yeah.
It's
gone now.
Because for some people who might have grown up around our era and with, in certain areas, they'll be very familiar with those kinds of procedures.
Yeah, we used to have a letter sat on the table that it would like shout out the stores, and it would have little blurbs and stories about the crimes they'd stopped.
Wow.
Well done to Steve in Stoke-on-Trent. He saved £4,000 of TVs that were found stashed at the bottom of this or whatever. Or well done to Stacey, who had a keen eye and inspected a pram. There was a baby in the pram, but lift the baby out and there were Xbox games. Well done. Total saving £80. So this is how Toys R Us used to roll. And he used to get things like, guys, you need to go to the Gypsy car park next door and retrieve a TV. I remember going there with one guy. I was like, this guy can't fight. And I just saw one guy who's with a hose pipe just staring at us. And I saw it was like a windy day, and I just saw the box of the widescreen TV like blow past me in the wind, and the site was deserted. But there's just this.
There's
that,
people.
The hills have eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked at him. I said, mate, do you want to pursue this? And he was like, no, we'll just tell him it's long gone. Back we went. But these were the type of daily ongoings that would go on there. We did
wow.
We used to organise fights in the back warehouse. Weirdly, that sounds weird now, but it was fun then.
Wait. I just need to picture this. So you're working in Toys R Us, and you and some of your co-workers are organising. What's the name of that film again?
Fight Club. I was a ringleader.
Fight Club style fights at the back of the shop.
Yeah. And it gets better. For some reason, all the white guys were on different positions to the black guys. So it's quite an even spread.
Okay.
So it just so happened to be whites versus blacks.
I see.
Now, bear in mind, in this culture, this is like absolutely normal.
Yeah, it wasn't like a prejudice thing.
Yeah.
It was just, that's just how it It was. But when you say different positions, were the white guys in like higher positions
No,
than the black guys?
no. In management
Yeah.
is unaware of this.
Yeah.
But so there's like multimedia teams selling
Oh,
PCs.
okay. So different departments kind of thing.
There's
okay.
a bike building team. But it basically,
so it'd be
when the two teams were formed,
it'd be like the toddler section versus the video game section
if the girls
or something.
got involved, because only girls were on the toddler section. I wonder if it would be different now. It must be.
Well, I mean, they don't exist anymore anyway.
Anyway, the fights were hilarious.
I sound like they would be.
I remember one I got So we tried to like limit blows to the face, but people got full on smacks, and like got my hand caught on something and it ripped it open.
Wow.
Carried on the fight. Then Tannoy summoned me to a bike aisle.
Yeah.
And the guy who was supposed to go wasn't there because he was having a fight with me. And he had been pushed into a bunch of boxes. And I was like, I better go. I didn't realise my hand was bleeding all over the place. So I walked out and then saw it was dripping.
Right.
And then the customer was asking me all these questions about a toddler bike. And I just remember standing there with my hands behind my back. And he was like, what are you hiding there, boy? I was like, nothing. And he's like, no, there's something. What are you doing? Like, people got agitated.
Right,
I was like, nothing. You know, just like, I just had to show him. So I just cut my hand open. He was like, oh, mate, you need to get that looked at. And I was like, yeah, thanks. And I walked off. So, yeah, good times.
It sounds interesting.
Tough. And management was, like, tough there. Like, as in, they ripped the shit out of you. Like, they'll come in and quote from the papers. And, like, do you know what I mean? Everyone was very opinionated.
Right.
But it was an honest place. Like there was zero tolerance, and for me,
would you say zero tolerance of what?
As in, they suspected everyone in the shop of thieving.
All the time. I see.
I worked in the security booth. I was constantly under scrutiny.
Yeah.
But one thing I don't do is steal.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
It was
you like fights.
Yeah. It's the one thing I proudly I'm proud of is I don't steal.
Yeah.
Because I
know how you.
My house has been robbed.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for me. So I'd always get very kind of emotional when they'd call me in over a theft.
Right.
So that was interesting. But
my point is... I know exactly how you feel. But anyway, carry on.
My point is it was quite tough, and you grew up fast, and you did feel like... Because we'd go out partying a lot with that group as well. Lots of characters, lots of entertainment. And you just felt kind of on top of the world, despite the fact you were doing an extremely low-paid job. So when I went to uni, after that, it was a little bit of a culture shock, and I had to readjust. Because bear in mind, I've been out of study for a long time. And I just thought, I went to, for some reason I got into my head that I wanted to be away from the city, just village life, or seeing deer was going to suit me instantly.
Yeah.
And I thought, that would be good. But when I got there, it was very much like there was a real anti-London vibe. And
where was there?
This is in Surrey.
Surrey, okay. So you went to Surrey Institute of Art and Design, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just remember at the beginning, it was very hard for me to like bond with people. People were just wary of me. It was hilarious. Like looking back, I can see why it was.
Yeah. Were you a little bit standoffish or a little bit, kind
standoffish,
of closed? Yeah,
closed, standoffish, but and also like joking, but not like I remember one of my best friends there. He was always bringing up a story where I'd be like, "That seat's taken, mate." It's just a joke. Right. But I forgot to like tell him it was a joke. Okay. So he just was like, "Oh my god, that guy." And I was like, yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I'm
laughing because I know
the groups formed like. I wasn't used to the way cliques formed, and it was really like watching American high school films, the way the groups formed. Like there was like a football team and jocks, and then there was like, obviously my group was doing animation, which was this like geek crew, and it really did like try to live up to that name. And very quickly there were like divisions. So for the people like me who loved just drifting between groups, it was weird. And I'd even get people like try and tell me to like, no, you should come with us instead. I was like, I'm jumping the gun a bit because at the beginning I might have thought, yeah, that's a great idea. But once I picked my group, I was like, I ain't leaving them for shit. But yeah, it was a different culture there. But looking back, this experience was really good
Mm.
because a lot of learning was done. I had to like add more layers to my character or unpick what I'd become
Right.
to become something else again.
Okay.
Um,
So do you feel like while you were having the experience, it's hard to be able to say that, I'm happy or I'm not happy. You're just kind of experiencing what, stuff
Yeah.
that's happening on the day to day, etc. But now, upon reflection, looking back, that was a happy period, or something that you could say, yeah, there were definitely more times that I was happy than I would have thought back then. Is that fair to say?
what I would say is I remember some of my most lonely times was in that place, and
Okay.
day to day it could feel so different. And it was the first time I would go out drinking, have a big night out, and wake up the next day feeling down and not knowing why. So
Okay.
it's the first time I've kind of experienced like lows without knowing the reason and stuff like that.
Were you living away from home?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
I don't know if that plays a factor or not because it seemed
Potentially,
exciting,
potentially.
but at the same time I felt very lost and just lots of weird feelings. But in the end, I conquered that place, so that's why I remember it fondly. It was boring. I'm just going to come out and say this. I think I'd got so much entertainment out of that school year and that foundation year that going to bars and stuff did not appeal to me in the same way. Like, I wasn't.
You sort of been
Drinking
there, done
culture
that
wasn't
to
new.
some
I was a
degree.
year. There was a few guys that were a year older, and it made a world of difference to how we saw things
Right.
and how quickly we get annoyed.
Right.
So I was like, something needs to change, but I don't know what. And guess what? I still wasn't interested in doing any work. So another year goes by where I don't do anything.
And that would be first year
Yeah.
of uni.
Until the very end of the year where I do my first group project.
Mhm.
And for the first time, I bring in an aspect known as jokes
Mm-hmm.
to my work.
Okay, now hold that thought. I need to change the audio file we're recording on. So stay tuned for yet another episode with Mr. John Inch on An Idiot's Guide to Happiness. We're moving into part 3. Peace.